In a world where loyalty is rare and allies are few, your success will be measured not by who stands beside you, but by how ruthlessly you seize the advantage alone. If you wait for support, you will wait forever. Power respects no sentiment. It bows to strategy, cunning, and the relentless mind. When others falter, abandon you, or doubt your vision, this is not a moment for despair. It is an invitation, a moment to observe, calculate, and strike with precision. Today, we dissect the anatomy of advancing alone, exposing the cold truths that many fear to acknowledge, that true progress is born not from encouragement, but from mastery over circumstance, over perception, and ultimately, over oneself. Do you believe that the people around you are truly allies? That their words, their nods, their smiles mean anything more than convenience? Think again. Dependence is a subtle poison, a shackle cloaked in comfort. From the courts of Florence to the battlefields of Europe, the wise have always known no one supports you with absolute loyalty. Not friends. Not family. Not even your most trusted advisors. The moment your usefulness fades, so too does their allegiance. Consider César Borgia, a man feared and admired for his cunning. He understood that reliance on others is a liability. He surrounded himself with loyal soldiers, yet he never let sentiment cloud strategy. When an ally faltered, César did not plead or lament. He acted, he adjusted, and in this ruthless calculus, he rose above those who clung to dependency like a life preserver. Ask yourself, how many of your companions would act decisively on your behalf if tomorrow they judged it no longer profitable? You see, dependence is seductive. It masquerades as comfort. It whispers that collaboration is strength. Yet history teaches otherwise. Consider the fate of Mark Antony, surrounded by the pomp of loyalty, only to be betrayed by Cleopatra's shifting favor. Power that rests on the hands of others is fragile. It bends with their whims, fractures under their fear. You must recognize this truth. No one can elevate you with consistent loyalty. Only you can. Psychologically, humans are wired for reciprocity, for the illusion of mutual support. We see smiles and nods, interpret them as trust, and permit ourselves to lean. But this is the most dangerous vulnerability of all, the assumption that the world cares for your ascent. When the tide of fortune shifts, and it always does, those who were once companions will vanish like shadows at noon. They do not betray out of malice alone. Often, they betray because survival dictates it. Can you survive while waiting for their allegiance? This is why self-reliance is not merely a virtue, it is a weapon. It sharpens the mind, hones the instincts, and fortifies the spirit. When you carry the burden of your ambition alone, you gain clarity. You see the moves of others as they truly are, not friends, not foes, but pieces on a board you must navigate with precision. Reflect on the Medici themselves, masters of manipulation, who rose not through the loyalty of the masses, but through cunning, strategy, and the ability to act independently when others hesitated. But independence requires a delicate balance. It is not arrogance nor isolation for its own sake. It is strategy. It is the quiet cultivation of resources, skills, and knowledge that render external validation unnecessary. The man who leans on others for his strength is a puppet. The man who leans on none is a storm. Can you imagine the power of moving through the world unshackled by the need for approval? The danger is seductive, the freedom intoxicating. And in that freedom, your true power emerges. Even in modern life, this principle holds. Observe the corporate world, where colleagues nod in agreement but secretly maneuver for promotion, or the social arenas where friends offer advice but calculate how your failure benefits them. Every smile may conceal ambition. Every promise may be temporary. To depend is to court disaster. To rely on yourself is to wield it. So what must you do? First, abandon the expectation that support is permanent. Treat alliances as tools, not guarantees. Second, cultivate capabilities that cannot be undermined by the absence of others. Knowledge, skill, discipline. These are yours alone. Third, anticipate betrayal and hesitation as constants, not anomalies. Plan for them. Embrace them. They are not threats, they are truths. And the man who internalizes this reality moves with certainty where others stumble in faith. Ask yourself, If tomorrow the world abandoned you completely, would you falter? Or would you rise, undeterred, because your power has always been your own? History rewards those who act alone when others are paralyzed by dependence. But the lesson is bitter, and few endure its weight without fear. Most cling to support, waiting, hoping, deceiving themselves with illusions of loyalty. Will you be one of them, or will you recognize the cold reality that true advancement is forged in solitude, in self-reliance, in the ruthless mastery of your own faculties? The truth is harsh, and it begins here the moment you relinquish dependence. You awaken a power that no ally can grant and no enemy can take. Yet this is only the beginning. The next principle, the mastery of perception, will show you how to wield that power while the world remains blind to your rising. Do you realize that the world does not see you as you see yourself? That reality is not truth, but interpretation. Every gaze that falls upon you, every judgment passed, is filtered through perception. And perception, my friend, is power. Control how others see you, and you control their actions. Fail to do so, and even the strongest position crumbles beneath the weight of misunderstanding. Consider the great Alexander the Great. His soldiers did not follow him solely because of his victories, they followed because they believed he was invincible. His image of courage, of inevitability, of destiny, was as potent a weapon as his sword. He mastered perception, bending reality to the story he wanted others to believe. Ask yourself, do those around you see the strength you possess, or only what you allow them to witness? Perception is not illusion for illusion's sake. It is a strategic construct. Look to Julius Caesar, whose crossing of the Rubicon was a declaration not just of defiance, but of certainty. He understood that the world moves faster for those who are perceived as decisive. Hesitation breeds doubt in observers. Doubt breeds opposition, and opposition, in its quietest form, can be fatal to ambition. How many of your actions are undermined by the silent judgments of those who misunderstand you? In every human interaction, there is a theater of influence. Your words, your gestures, the manner in which you present yourself. These are not trivial. They are signals, carefully observed, silently dissected by those who seek advantage. To master perception is to become both actor and director, controlling the narrative while others play the unwitting audience. Who would follow a leader who seems uncertain, weak, or constrained? And yet, how often do you reveal more than you intend, offering glimpses of vulnerability that others eagerly exploit? History offers countless lessons in this regard. Take Queen Elizabeth I of England, who cultivated the image of the Virgin Queen, a symbol of untouchable authority. Her political strength was inseparable from the perception she crafted. She was mysterious, untouchable, and unassailable. It was not her army alone that preserved her reign, but the careful orchestration of perception, the artful manipulation of appearances. Ask yourself, how much of your power is wasted because you fail to command how others perceive you? The psychology behind this is simple, yet brutally effective. Humans are pattern-seeking creatures. They act on impressions more readily than on facts. If they believe you are strong, competent, inevitable, they defer to you. If they sense doubt, hesitation, or weakness, they move against you without conscience. You are not merely competing in deeds. You are competing in the mind of every observer, in the silent theater where perception reigns supreme. Yet, mastering perception is not deceit for its own sake. It is selective revelation, precision in the presentation of self. Observe the cunning statesmen of Renaissance Italy. They revealed strength when needed, vulnerability only when it served strategy, and always framed the narrative to their advantage. The goal is never to mislead blindly, but to guide the conclusions of others, to make them see the inevitability of your rise before you strike. Can you imagine the control that comes when your enemies act according to the story you crafted, not their own judgments? Even in modern life, this principle remains true. Consider the corporate boardroom, the social hierarchy, the political stage. Your influence is rarely dictated by objective merit alone. It is dictated by the perception of merit, by the signals you send and the image you project. confidence, decisiveness, and an aura of inevitability. These are the subtle tools that bend reality to your advantage. Those who fail to wield them stumble, exposed to manipulation and challenge. Those who master them move with quiet, unstoppable authority. So, ask yourself, what image are you projecting? Are you seen as a force of inevitability or as a hesitant figure waiting for permission? Are others anticipating your rise? Or are they emboldened by your invisibility? The world bows to perception, and the moment you understand this, you gain an advantage few even recognize exists. But perception is only the doorway, not the destination. To wield it fully, you must combine it with the next principle, the art of strategic patience. For what good is inevitability if you strike too soon or hesitate when opportunity demands decisiveness? Master the theater of perception, and then, in silence, you prepare to move when the world still doubts your hand. Do you understand the value of waiting? Not the idle waiting of those who hesitate for fear or indecision, but the deliberate, calculating patience of those who know exactly when to strike. Strategic patience is not weakness, it is power in its most disciplined form. The world rewards the impatient with failure and exposes the reckless to ruin. But the one who masters timing bends fate itself to his will. Consider Hannibal, the Carthaginian general. For years he marched across Europe, observing, calculating, preparing. Every engagement, every maneuver, was measured against the broader campaign, not immediate gratification. He did not act because opportunity appeared tempting. He acted when the moment was unavoidable, when hesitation by others would magnify his advantage. Ask yourself, do you act on impulse, or do you orchestrate your movements so that every step compounds your power? Patience, of course, is rarely comfortable. It demands discipline of thought and restraint of desire. Yet this is precisely why it confers superiority. When others rush to display strength, they often reveal weakness. They commit too early, expose too much, and invite counterattack. Strategic patience allows you to observe, to learn, to identify the fissures in the defenses of your rivals before you ever make your move. Every moment you wait is an investment in information, an accumulation of leverage. How many battles, personal, political, or professional, have been lost simply because one acted too soon? History is filled with examples. Take Frederick the Great of Prussia, who waited for the perfect moment to invade Silesia. He studied his enemies, assessed their alliances, gauged the temperament of their leaders, and only then struck with overwhelming efficiency. The impatient might have acted sooner and failed. The patient succeeded because the world, unwittingly, conspired in his favor. Reflect upon this. Are your decisions guided by impulse or by the patient calculation of advantage? Psychologically, humans are poor judges of timing. We overvalue immediate results and undervalue long-term positioning. Our culture idolizes action for action's sake, confusing motion with progress. But motion without strategy is noise. Progress requires calculation. Strategic patience is the quiet accumulation of opportunity, the subtle positioning of influence, the unseen work that, when executed, appears as effortless inevitability. Do you cultivate such patience, or do you chase every fleeting chance and watch it dissolve? Even in modern arenas, this principle is deadly effective. Consider the rise of great leaders in business, politics, or art. Those who leap at every chance are often overtaken by those who wait, analyze, and act with precision. Strategic patience is the art of letting others exhaust themselves, of observing the cracks in their confidence, and striking when the terrain favors you most. Can you see how a moment of restraint can yield victories that would otherwise require years of struggle? But patience alone is insufficient without clarity of purpose. Strategic patience requires foresight, the ability to map your desired outcome and understand the moves of others relative to it. Napoleon Bonaparte, for all his audacity, knew when to delay, when to build strength before advancing. He waited, sometimes silently, allowing rivals to misjudge him, until his timing produced unstoppable momentum. Ask yourself, are you waiting with purpose, or simply hesitating, paralyzed by fear of action? The beauty of strategic patience is that it amplifies every other skill. Knowledge, perception, And self-reliance are strengthened when you allow time to unfold, revealing hidden truths, hidden alliances, and hidden weaknesses. Those who act prematurely deny themselves this advantage, rushing into uncertainty with blind courage. But the patient man converts time itself into a weapon. The moments others squander in impatience, he collects as currency, to be spent at the precise point where it will yield maximum gain. So, consider this: every hesitation by your rivals is an opportunity. Every misstep, every misjudged action is a gift you can claim. But to wield this advantage, you must resist the temptation to act before the moment is ripe. Do you have the discipline to wait? The cunning to calculate the perfect instant? The courage to let the world move around you while you silently align all the pieces? Remember, impatience is the ruin of the ambitious, the folly of the powerful. Strategic patience, in contrast, transforms inaction into inevitability. And yet, patience is only the beginning. Timing is a weapon, but execution is the strike. In the next segment, we will explore how to exploit the weaknesses of others when the moment finally comes, turning observation and waiting into unassailable advantage. Do you see the cracks in those around you? Not the cracks they reveal openly, but the hidden fractures of fear, doubt, and desire that guide their every move. To ignore them is to surrender advantage. To recognize them and act is to wield power quietly, efficiently, and decisively. Weakness is everywhere, yet few perceive it. Fewer still know how to use it. Will you be among the blind or among the masters? Consider the cunning of Machiavelli's contemporaries in Florence. The princes, the merchants, the generals, they did not wait for open conflict. They observed hesitation, envy, greed, and vanity, and they struck where it would yield the greatest gain with the least effort. A man who understands the weakness of others moves not in chaos, but in calculated precision. Ask yourself, how often have opportunities passed because you ignored the subtle signs of vulnerability around you? History offers brutal lessons. Take Gaius Marius, the Roman general who rose to power by exploiting the indecision and distrust of the Senate. He did not confront their forces blindly. He understood their insecurities, their fear of one another, and he manipulated them with patience until their weakness became his strength. Power is rarely seized through brute force alone. It is extracted from the flaws, miscalculations, and desires of others. Psychologically, humans are flawed by design. Pride blinds judgment. Fear distorts reasoning. Desire clouds clarity. Every man believes he is in control, even as his weaknesses betray him. To exploit weakness is not cruelty. It is observation. It is the application of truth to human nature. Who among your peers hesitates when opportunity appears? Who covets what they cannot secure? Who acts from ego rather than reason? These are the points where influence, manipulation, and advantage are won. Look at Elizabeth I and her deft handling of foreign powers. She did not confront Spain directly at first. She observed their overconfidence, their impatience, and she struck when their vulnerabilities aligned with her strategy. Her mastery was not in battlefield prowess alone, but in the understanding of human frailty, the manipulation of perception, and the timing of decisive action. Ask yourself, do you act against strength, or do you wait for weakness to reveal itself? Even in modern life, this principle is devastatingly effective. In business, negotiations are won not against the most prepared, but against the overconfident, the insecure, the short-sighted. In social hierarchies, influence is rarely asserted where others are strongest. It is applied where their guard is lowest, where their pride or fear blinds them to your presence. Can you recognize these patterns? Can you move like a shadow, striking where resistance is minimal, yet the reward maximal? Yet exploiting weakness requires subtlety. The crude attack reveals intent, alerts the target, and invites retaliation. The clever strategist, however, manipulates so that the target believes the outcome was inevitable, even deserved. Julius Caesar did not merely confront his enemies. He maneuvered through their errors, their divisions, and their ambitions. By the time the Senate realized the magnitude of his advantage, he had already positioned himself beyond opposition. Are you able to act so that your influence feels unseen, yet undeniable. There is also a moral subtlety to consider. Not morality in the sense of kindness, but in the sense of efficacy. Every action must be measured against its results, not its sentiment. Weakness is a tool, and the wise use it without hesitation, without remorse, because hesitation is the enemy of advantage. Fear and hesitation in others can be harnessed, redirected, and amplified. The question is, will you hesitate, or will you strike with calculated precision? So, observe the world as it truly is: imperfect, fragile, and rife with exploitable error. Study those around you. Study their desires, their doubts, their vanity. Map the vulnerabilities that they themselves are blind to. And then, with patience and precision, act. Your gains will be disproportionate to the effort, because the world never defends itself against insight. Every weakness you uncover is a door, every hesitation is a weapon. But exploitation alone is not enough. To wield real power, you must combine it with internal strength and the mastery of timing. Observation, patience, and action converge here. And in the next segment, we will explore the internal authority that transforms opportunistic strikes into unstoppable advancement. How the foundation of your power lies not in the weakness of others, but in the fortitude of your own mind. Do you command your own mind, or do you bend to every opinion, every emotion, every fleeting circumstance? True power begins not in the world outside, but within. External allies may falter, opportunities may vanish, and rivals may strike without warning. But the one who possesses internal authority is untouchable. Your thoughts, your discipline, your judgment become a fortress no one can breach. Ask yourself, do you wield your own will, or do you surrender it to the chaos around you? History is filled with men and women who ruled not because of armies or alliances, but because of the unyielding strength within. Take Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, philosopher, and master of Stoic thought. Surrounded by politics, betrayal, and the caprices of fortune, he ruled by an internal code of discipline and reason. He allowed neither fear nor flattery to sway him. He understood that when your mind is sovereign, the world becomes pliable. Would you act differently if you realized that no one's opinion could destabilize you? Internal authority is the quiet cultivation of mastery over self. It begins with observation, noticing your impulses, your desires, and your weaknesses without surrendering to them. It demands discipline, restraining the urge to act prematurely, to react emotionally, to reveal your hand too soon. And it demands clarity, knowing your goals, your priorities, and your limits, even when the world conspires to obscure them. Ask yourself, how often do you act on instinct rather than on calculated will? How often do you allow the whims of others to dictate your direction? Consider Napoleon Bonaparte. Even at the height of his campaigns, surrounded by enemies, exhausted troops, and shifting alliances, he maintained an internal authority that allowed him to see opportunities invisible to others. While generals quarreled, while kings panicked, he measured every risk, weighed every advantage, and moved with the certainty of one who controls himself first and the world second. Imagine the edge you gain when no fear, no uncertainty, no distraction can sway your decisions. The psychology of internal authority is rooted in self-mastery. Humans are naturally reactive. We fear loss, crave approval, and seek comfort. Most allow these impulses to govern their choices. But the one who masters internal authority observes these urges as tools, not masters. Fear becomes caution, desire becomes motivation, and adversity becomes training. Can you transform every impulse into strategy, every challenge into a stepping stone, every setback into fuel for power? Even in modern life, internal authority distinguishes those who rise from those who falter. In the boardroom, those who act emotionally are outmaneuvered by those who act deliberately. In relationships, those who bend to opinion are manipulated by those who command their own minds. In social arenas, perception of confidence, calm, and decisiveness arises not from luck or charisma, but from the internal strength that allows one to remain unshaken while others tremble. Do you see how invulnerability begins within? Yet internal authority is not rigidity. It is the disciplined flexibility of one who understands that circumstance changes, yet principle remains. Alexander the Great understood this. He adapted to every battlefield, every ally, every betrayal, yet his core vision, the conquest, the legacy, remained absolute. He did not compromise his will to fit others' desires. He expanded his influence because he controlled himself first. Ask yourself, do you bend to the storm, or do you bend the storm to your strategy? The mastery of self is also mastery of perception. Those who command internally radiate confidence, clarity, and inevitability. Others follow because they sense your authority, even when they cannot articulate it. Strength becomes magnetic. Opportunities gravitate toward you. Weakness, in contrast, is transparent. It invites manipulation, betrayal, and chaos. Do you want to be moved by the currents, or do you want to steer them? So, cultivate your mind as you would a fortress. Fortify it with discipline, sharpen it with reflection, and expand it with knowledge. Make it a source of unshakable command, impervious to fear, envy, or distraction. This is the foundation upon which all external power rests, the bedrock upon which perception, patience, and the exploitation of weakness can be applied with certainty. And yet, internal authority alone is incomplete. Possession of the self is the preparation, but power is realized through action. In the next segment, we will explore calculated boldness, the decisive moves that transform internal mastery into unstoppable influence and turn all preparation into conquest. The moment of truth approaches, and those who hesitate will be left behind. Do you act boldly, or do you linger in hesitation? Boldness without calculation is recklessness, and recklessness is the ruin of the ambitious. But boldness married to strategy. This is the essence of power. The world rewards those who strike with certainty, who commit with precision, who transform preparation into decisive action. Ask yourself, when the moment arrives, will you falter, or will you move like inevitability itself? History is unforgiving to the timid. Consider Hannibal at Cannae. He did not merely wait for Rome to falter. He orchestrated one of the most audacious encirclements in history. Boldness alone would have failed, but his audacity was calculated. Every movement, every placement of troops, exploited the weaknesses he had observed, the hesitations he had studied. Can you see the difference between impulsive courage and strategic boldness? One invites disaster, the other secures dominion. Boldness is not the absence of fear. It is mastery over fear. It is the ability to act decisively while others tremble. Napoleon Bonaparte exemplified this. Against overwhelming odds, he crossed the Alps, not blindly, but with a plan that anticipated every challenge. His audacity struck terror into the enemy, while his foresight ensured victory. Ask yourself, do you allow fear to dictate your pace, or do you channel it into precision, turning apprehension into advantage? Psychologically, humans are inclined to underestimate the audacious. Bold action shocks perception, disrupts expectation, and seizes the initiative. Those who hesitate allow the timid to gain confidence, the indecisive to manipulate circumstance, and the opportunistic to dominate. Calculated boldness flips this dynamic. It allows you to impose your will, to dictate the terms, and to transform potential weakness into observable strength. How often have you watched opportunity pass because you feared the cost of action? Even in the subtle theaters of influence, business, politics, or social hierarchies, boldness decides outcomes. Consider corporate takeovers. Deals fail because the timid hesitate, and deals succeed because the prepared strike with confidence that convinces others their victory is inevitable. Perception and audacity converge. The world follows those who act decisively, even when the stakes are uncertain. Are you prepared to seize the moment, or will you remain invisible while others claim your potential? Boldness must be disciplined. It is not a gamble, it is the application of all prior mastery. Self-reliance, observation, perception, patience, and exploitation of weakness. Alexander the Great moved boldly across unknown lands, yet every campaign was calculated. Every battle exploited enemy mistakes. Every city he conquered fell not to rashness, but to the precision of audacity guided by strategy. Do you act with purpose, or do you confuse impulse with courage? Even the perception of boldness is a weapon. Consider Queen Elizabeth's defiance of the Spanish Armada. She projected confidence, decisiveness, and inevitability. Her boldness rallied her nation, unnerved her enemies, and transformed a precarious situation into triumph. Boldness, even when partially theatrical, reshapes reality by forcing others to act in response to you. Ask yourself, does your presence inspire action, hesitation, or irrelevance? Calculated boldness is also timing perfected. The patient observes, the prepared strategizes, and the bold executes when the alignment of circumstance is precise. The man who acts too soon suffers failure, the man who acts too late loses the advantage. But the man who acts with calculated audacity moves as though fate itself follows his command. Every hesitation by others magnifies your impact. Every misstep by rivals compounds your advantage. Can you seize the moment when it demands you? So, integrate audacity with preparation. Observe relentlessly, master perception, cultivate patience, exploit weakness, and fortify internal authority. Then, when opportunity converges with readiness, act decisively. Strike with certainty, as history's masters have done. Boldness becomes your signature, your force multiplier, the final key that transforms latent potential into real power. And yet, even this is not the end. Boldness executes strategy, but the wise understand that power is never static. Each triumph invites challenge, each victory demands vigilance. Calculated boldness opens the door, but the next principle, subtle yet deadly, is the continuous reinforcement of dominance. To wield power effectively, you must act, anticipate, and evolve without pause. The journey is relentless and the world waits for no one. Power is never given. It is seized, and the strongest do not wield it openly. They shape minds, bend wills, and command outcomes without revealing their hand. Control is subtle, invisible, deadly. Ask yourself, how many move through life blind, believing influence requires force, when the quiet manipulator already dictates their choices? Observation, patience, perception, exploitation. These are your true instruments. The world bows to those who understand the unseen currents of desire and fear. Remember, loyalty is fragile. Strength is silent. Victory belongs to the one who acts when others hesitate, who strikes when opportunity converges with preparation, who commands internally while the world obeys externally. Now, you hold the knowledge. Will you act? Will you observe and wait? Or will you let these principles fade into forgotten theory? Comment below your thoughts. Share your reflections on strategy. Subscribe for more Machiavellian truths and methods. And share this video. Let those who are unaware of their own weakness witness the mastery of the calculated mind. The world does not yield to kindness. It yields to cunning. Will you claim it?